So hello there and welcome to another video of the Shield doing a couch. So I know I said that the last one was going to be the last one, but I put a poll and people said we want to know what your honorable mentions are because I mentioned the top 25. I had the top 5 albums of the year with Señorita Sabrosura, my top 10 bad albums of the year. And today we're going to do 10 albums which are honorable mentions, which are great albums that came out in the year and almost made my top 25, but they're so good that I want to give them like a shout out so people can check them out. So they're in no order in particular. I'm just going to mention these albums because I think you should give them a chance. So yes, there was so much music in 2022. So sometimes there's things that fall under the radar, and sometimes there's things that you don't listen to enough. But I listen to a lot of music, and there's other great music there that you never know or could pass under the cracks. But these are albums that 10 albums that really I would recommend to anyone. So I'm going to start with a band from Puerto Rico, and they're called Zafacón. And Zafacón is a band that mixes thrash metal with death metal, and their last album is Aftermath. And this is a great release. It has some great songs on it, like The Pale, to just mention one, but The Pale is the one that finishes the album, and it's just a great song that really, something that Zafacón did on this album that differed from their previous album is that they use clean vocals, which they didn't do before. So on this one, they did that, and other standout tracks are Aftermath, Cancer of the Mind, The Revenant. Just a great album that really represents the metal scene in Puerto Rico. And I also interviewed them on the channel. So if you haven't checked that interview out, check them out. And if you haven't listened to Zafacón, please do. They actually opened in 2016 for Metallica in Puerto Rico. And they're a great band, so do not sleep on Aftermath by Zafacón because it is a great release. So moving along, that's an album that I really enjoyed, but I also like Prog and Doom. And this is a band that really did a Doom prog concept album. And I also interviewed the lead singer, and they're called Drift into Black. And the album is called Earthtorn. And this album really tells a story of an alien that goes into Earth, and he has a mission. And guess what? He falls in love with a woman, the woman dies, and all hell breaks loose. It's a great concept record. And I like the doomier parts I like, but I think that when this band does the prog more, I think it's where they excel. The songs that I would recommend for you guys is It Fell from the Sky. That's a great song. I would also recommend The Ups and the Downs because that's a more beautiful song. And On Borrowed Time and Left to the Burning Song. Great songs. It's a great album. And the concept is really cool, how the alien has a mission. And I'm looking for the follow-up to this, like what happens to the alien when he leaves Earth. That's going to be very interesting, and I hope that's the next album for Drift into Black. So yeah, another great album that you should not sleep on. The next album that I'm going to talk about is a band from the Ukraine, and they're called White Ward. And shame on me because this this is a band that I discovered more this year, and I listened to it a lot, but there was a few albums that I think I went back to more. But this is an album. This band deserves all the praise that they would get because they mix black metal with some pianos, violins, like progressive, like really complex songs. Like just listen to Leviathan, the album opener, and you will be blown away because it's a long song and it goes through so many different places. But other songs on the album, they're great. This is a super great album. It's 8 songs and it's an hour and 6 minutes of music, so it's a long album, but it's an album that there's no time lost. Every second of it is important. So yeah, White Ward, False Light, great album. Do not sleep on this band, people. Moving along to another band that I just discovered this year, and this is their debut album, is Morphied with Anedonia. And I actually discovered this band because the Green Man reviewed it on his channel. So props to the Green Man. And we got to interview the band together, and great people, great band. It's a band that is like an alternative metal band that's very modern, like think Deftones meets other type of bands. I'm trying to remember like the bands because they're very modern and very catchy tunes, and the lead singer, she's just great. So I think it's a band that it's promising, and it's their first album, and I like the single Mayhem, Aftermath, just to name a few, but it's 39 minutes, 9 songs, and it's supremely catchy tunes. A great debut from a band that you should know. I really was very impressed by the band, and when I interviewed them, I liked them because they were such good people. They were very happy to talk about their music, and they're from Latvia, so great band. Please check out Morphied if you haven't done so. So moving along to other bands that I've discovered this year, and maybe some maybe some you don't. This band is from France, and they're called Decasia, and the album is An Endless Feast of Hyenas. And this is psychedelic rock. Sometimes there's some progressive elements to it, but they're very old school things like 70s type of rock, psychedelic rock, and you'll get the sound of Decasia. And a very interesting fact, because I interviewed the drummer from this band, they actually recorded this album in the countryside in France in a barn. And I'm like, really? Because the sound is so great that I was very surprised that they did this in a barn. So I would recommend the song Override, Skeleton Boy, and Horsebelly's Ode. Just a great album. If you like that old school psychedelic rock, check out Decasia, because I'm telling you, they're doing it very great. So do not sleep on Decasia. So moving along, we got a band that I actually also interviewed someone from this band, Rique, and the band's called Convent. And Convent is a more sludgier doom metal band with very very hard like vocals. Like Rique sounds sometimes like she's possessed by a demon, but oh my god, they're so great. It's a all female band. They really do a great thing on this album. And if I have to mention the two favorite tracks that I enjoyed here, or the three favorite tracks, Pipe Dreams, which was the first single, that one's got a great like melody to it and guitar hook. And on that song, she talks about like having her mind like control her, very like Sad But True by Metallica, but obviously does not sound like that. And also the song Grains is great. The song that opens the album, Into the Distance, is great, and it's very doomy, and it builds. And Harena, which closes the album, oh my god, it has some strings on it. Great song, a great band that you shouldn't fall asleep on. So Convent with Call Down the Sun. So the other band that I have on this list is a band that I didn't interview, but I reviewed the album. It's Allegiant with Damnum, and this is great death metal with some progressive elements to it. The band really has always delivered. They're always being consistent, and this album is not an exception. So it's an album that has great tunes like of Beast and Worm, Into Embers, Burning, just to name a few, but solid from beginning to end. So Damned by Allegiant, another honorable mention on my list. So moving along right now, we have a few more albums to discuss. So the next band, I've always enjoyed this band ever since I listened to them. It's Soilwork, and this album Overgivenheten. And I think this is a great improvement from their last album. Bjorn sounds great. It's a very fun record. I think this is a very, it's a fast record, and I never got bored from it. And it's really an improvement from Verkligheten in 2019. That one was okay to me, so I think this one was way better. It had some vibes from The Living Infinite, which I love that album. And if I had to mention songs from this album to enjoy, No Somes la Guerra, It's in Your Darkness, Vultures, and Death I Hear You Calling. All four are great tracks that you should check out, and this is a great album by a band that almost always delivers. So I have two more albums that I would like to discuss with you guys, and one of them is a band from Philadelphia. They're called IAT, and they're a progressive black metal band, and the album's called Magnum Opus. And this album, there's like a concept running through the album of alchemy. Like it's really interesting, the concept of it's not like a concept album, that there's themes of alchemy running all through the album. And the best songs for me are Prima Materia, Elixir of Immortality, and I like also Exculpate, Exonerate, and Seven Wandering Stars is also great, and it has a guest vocalist with Jake Superchi. So yeah, it's just great. I also interviewed the lead singer from this band, and we go more in depth about this album. So yeah, a great progressive black metal band that obviously it's really good, just like the White Ward album. So that's why I'm giving it an honorable mention. And finally, the last album that I'm going to talk about is a band that put out an album in September, but I didn't realize that they were putting out that album in September. I thought it was going to come later, and it's Holy Fawn and Dimensional Bleed. And I've been listening the last like week and a half to this album nonstop, and I'm like, well, I have to talk. This has to be an honorable mention for me. If I would have listened to this sooner, it probably had been in my top 25, but I listened to it later. So yeah, this is an album that there's indie rock vibes to it. There's some black metal elements to it. There's some shoegaze elements to it, and some electronics. I was really blown away by this album. If I have to mention some songs, please listen to Death is a Relief. Oh my God, great song. Empty Vials and Dimensional Bleed and Void of Light, just to mention a few. But this is a great band. This is their sophomore release. They're from Phoenix, Arizona, and I really like all the elements and how they use electronics sparingly, and it doesn't take over the whole album. So I just love the atmosphere of this album. It's very moody, and that's why I have it as an honorable mention. So yes, those are 10 albums that almost made my top 25, but didn't. But you should check out anyway, because they're all great. So I want to know from you guys, what albums almost made your list, or is there any albums here that you think also deserve to have that honorable mention? And the last video of the year, I promise now, is coming this week on December 22nd. I have a video with Señorita Sabrosura, and it's not about music. We're talking about Christmas, and we're talking about the difference Christmas in the US to Puerto Rico. So it's a very fun video. Like I hope you guys enjoy it. And after that, the next videos will be in the new year. And I'm having two videos with Señorita Sabrosura. One where we're talking about albums that we missed this year. And the other one is going to be albums that we're looking forward in 2023. So until next time, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you, and good night.